it's really hard sometimes to get the mentally ill people to take their meds. Like so,
ADHD is not a mental illness, though. It's just a disorder. You're not mentally ill if you have ADHD. You just can't.
it's all under the same bubble, right?
Now, I don't want to play antics with semantics. Let's clarify what we mean by mental diseases in the first place, because you use the term. I use behavior disorders.
ADHD is a mental illness. It is a disorder. What are we saying mental illness is?
No, so are all mental diseases. Mental disease is a metaphor.
It's not a personality disorder, right? ADHD isn't a personality disorder, is it? It's considered a mental disorder, is it not? ADHD, at the end of the day, is a disease of focus.
Now, none of those behaviors was ever a disease, and of course it's not a disease. But nor is attention deficit disorder a disease. No behavior or misbehavior is a disease or can be a disease. That's not what diseases are.
What's actually happening in your brain if you are developing ADHD? Like what is going on?
So the easiest way to explain it is that with all mental illnesses or, the mental health diagnoses.
Would you call this a mental illness?
It is in DSM-5, and it would be considered a mental illness.
Really?
Or a mental
Why
disorder.
do we have to call it an illness?
You have to have a term in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual in order to then call it a disease and treat it as a disease and write a prescription for it.
Like I take personal offense to that as somebody that has
You and lots
ADHD.
of other people.
Is it a defect or is it a difference?
It's a difference.
In modern mainstream medicine, and of course there are exceptions to this, but broadly speaking, a name will only be ratified as indicating the existence of a disorder after some kind of pathological roots have been discovered in the body, in the cells, in the tissues, in the organs, etc. But the surprising thing about psychiatry is that it works in completely the opposite way. Psychiatry first names a disorder before any pathological roots have been discovered in the body. So in effect, a new mental disorder can make it into the DSM and become part of our wider culture, even though there is no biological evidence whatsoever to support its inclusion.
But when you take somebody who has a good dose of those traits and puts them in a classroom and says, sit still and read for 5 hours and don't talk out of turn.
I will lose my freaking mind.
And don't move your body.
See, I'm already reacting to the thing that you're telling me to do because it feels like a straitjacket.
It should feel like a straitjacket because your brain, in fact, may be hardwired to be one of those explorers, hunters, gatherers, innovators. Your brain is ready to go out and create and save the tribe.
And it seems to me the stigma of mental illness depends upon the mental illness. So in other words, you can't be stigmatized for having, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder until attention deficit hyperactivity disorder exists. How can you be stigmatized for it? So who actually benefits, in a sense, from the stigma attached to mental illness? It's the people who diagnose them.
But the reality is there is no universal brain scan for any mental health, neurodivergent condition.
And I'm like, I think maybe you have adult ADD. And she goes, oh, adults don't have ADD. And I'm thinking, I'm the doctor. But I'm like, how about if we look at your brain?
So there's no brain scan that we can do to say whether you have ADHD or don't have ADHD.
And I knew from other work I'd done that I should do it twice at rest and concentration. And when she tried to concentrate, her brain completely deactivated, turned off. Like for you, Willing did it once, but if I had done it twice, probably your brain would be busy or at rest. And then when you try to do it, it would drop.
So there's no brain scan that we can do to say whether you have ADHD or don't have ADHD.
And I put the pictures on, a couple of days later, I put the picture on the table in front of her. And as I explained it to her, she started to cry. And she said, "You mean it's not my fault?"
So there's no brain scan that we can do to say whether you have ADHD or don't have ADHD.
And I said, having ADD is sort of like people who need glasses. And I wear glasses to drive, and took my glasses out, put them on. And I said, people who wear glasses aren't dumb, crazy, or stupid. Our eyeballs are shaped funny. And we wear glasses to focus. I said, people who have ADD aren't dumb, crazy, or stupid. Some of them are the brightest people I know. But their frontal lobes deactivate. Taking the medicine is like glasses for your frontal lobes. Help you focus.
So there's no brain scan that we can do to say whether you have ADHD or don't have ADHD.
In general, with psychiatry anyway, we've been moving in the direction of the disorders being not a chemical imbalance. I know that's been a lot of talk lately. That's actually not a new concept, that it's not a chemical imbalance.
For someone with ADHD, it is like an excruciatingly challenging task, because unless you're being like constantly rewarded with some stream of stuff, to sit and actually focus on doing anything is like impossible.
That's lack of dopamine.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, as we have moved from, it's not a chemical imbalance, it's really, the disorders are really related to the connectivity between the nerves in the brain, also called neuroplasticity.
While the cause is unknown, depression may be related to an imbalance of natural chemicals between nerve cells in the brain. Prescription Zoloft works to correct this imbalance. When you know more about what's wrong, you can help make it right.
A chemical imbalance meshes very well with the idea that you give a drug which restores the balance. It's a story, a mythology, a fable.
ADHD is not simply a neuroscientific illness. It's actually a neuroscientific meets environment illness. And this is a big theory that's getting a lot of momentum in psychiatry, which is that mental illnesses don't exist in a vacuum, that they actually require a particular environment to come out.
As we have moved from, it's not a chemical imbalance, it's really, the disorders are really related to the connectivity between the nerves in the brain, also called neuroplasticity.
Mental illnesses don't exist